YouTube, what's up? Today we're gonna be doing a continuation of our Pocket Mortys guide, the basics, and we're gonna be discussing the intermediate and the advanced. So we're gonna get into a lot more details in terms of how to become a better battler at the game. All right. So the first thing you want to start with is who do you battle? When do you battle? And how do you prepare for battle? All right. So who do you battle? All right. You're gonna need to select your opponents carefully. There are a lot of things you want to take into account, and unless you're very confident in your team, in your levels, and in your ability to win games, you definitely want to be smart about that. You want to be smart about the battles that you accept also. All right. Now, for starters, your level is going to be very important. Of course, that should be very obvious. The level of your Rick and the level of your Mortys. Now, one thing to note is your Mortys can be as high as twice the level of your Rick plus 2. So I'm level 29, that's my Rick. That means my Mortys can go all the way up to level 60. That's 58, double my level, plus 2. The same applies for everyone else. So with that in mind, you do want to assume the worst when you're going to accept a battle request from someone, or when you're going to be sending a battle request to another player. Now, what that means is if you're a level 25 and I'm a level 29, you can have a maximum or peak level of 52 for your Mortys, where they'll actually obey you and not disobey orders and just loaf around and do nothing all the game, right? If you go up against me, I can be all the way up to level 60, so my Mortys can be potentially up to 8 levels higher than yours, and that can make a heck of a lot of difference in a competitive match. So you definitely want to keep that in mind. Now, it's not to say you shouldn't accept these battles. I don't think, based off of my experience, not a lot of players adhere to this. So, chances are you're not going to be running into a lot of players who are actually keeping Mortys at their peak level, where their Rick is and all that. Just because it takes time, it takes effort to get there, and being at lower stages in the game, in the level 10, level 20, that kind of thing, perhaps persons aren't even going to be taking the game that seriously, right? Which means that's where you can give yourself the upper hand and pretty much stay on top of things. I've been doing that for quite a bit. Obviously, I'm not there right now, but throughout my time playing the game, I've pretty much won most of my battles just because I'm always either higher level or I have better stats altogether because of special training, which we'll get into in a sec as well. So keep that in mind. Very important. Pick your battles carefully. Make sure you're training, make sure your team's diverse, and you're ready for everything. What are you gonna do against a rock? What are you gonna do against a paper? And what are you gonna do against a scissors? Alright? So make sure you're prepared for battle and you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. Now, what you want to take into account is don't rush. You can level up the Rick, you can level up your Mortys, but don't rush. Make sure your Mortys are getting experience, make sure they're getting training, and then once they're strong enough to defend themselves, then it's okay. You can battle and you can level up your Rick, but if you're leveling up your Rick too fast, that's going to be a problem. Eventually your Mortys aren't going to be strong enough, and it's going to be tough to win matches because you're going to be put up against players who are usually a couple of levels higher than you are. Occasionally you'll see a couple of players lower than your Rick's level, but for the most part, in my personal experience playing the game, more often than not, you encounter players who are higher level than you are, which I don't mind because you get more experience and the battles are worth your time even more that way. Alright, you definitely want to have patience, catch as many Mortys as you can, or focus on specific Mortys that you know will be able to make a good team, a good all-around team that you can use to pretty much go up against whatever it is that someone can throw at you. All right. Now the thing is, you want to focus on helping others, making this a community, which is definitely important for the game. Make friends. People, send you friend requests, accept them. You see persons requesting Morty to be donated, perhaps you have it, you don't use it, donate it. Occasionally you can request a Morty and someone can donate that Morty back to you, which makes your life easier. So help others, hopefully they help you. Now of course you're going to be reasonable when requesting Mortys. You're not going to just sit there and be like, oh, I want a one true Morty, someone just hand it over. It's not really going to work like that unless you have a really, really lucky friend who perhaps has more than one of those and is willing to just lend a hand. All right, now with that out of the way, we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty, the really, really hard stuff, the things that take a lot of time and a lot of energy. We're gonna be talking about IVs and EVs. Now IVs, individual values, those are they can't change. All right, you either get lucky or unlucky. When you catch a Morty, it's gonna have some base stats. And in those stats, those IVs are already calculated. They're already randomly generated from within a range. And that's it. You can never change those. And those determine the maximum power output for each stat of your Morty once it's leveled up. Alright? Now, I'm going to put a link in the description to an IV calculator. Very useful. Actually, the website, it also has a community as well. And it does allow you to, see what other players are talking about and see other Mortys, Morty stats, their moves, how the moves are, what they do, their strength, pretty much as much information as you can find about Pocket Mortys. So it's very useful, and it has calculators to help you calculate the IVs as well. Now for EVs, things get a little bit more cumbersome and it gives you a lot more work to do, but the trade-off, very good. Now EVs, effort values, is usually what they're called. You're gonna need to train your Mortys. And when I say train them, I don't mean leveling up. I mean, you have a level 30 Morty, put a level 5 Morty on your team. That means all the wild Mortys you're gonna encounter are gonna be level 5, and you're gonna spend a heck of a lot of time. I'm talking hundreds of battles, just going up against the weakest possible Mortys you can, defeating all of them, healing up, defeating them, healing up, defeating them, repeating the process until eventually you level up. Now you don't have to wait until you level up, but the real objective here is to do like hundreds of games. And what each of those games are going to do is it's going to give you effort values for all that hard work. And so those points are going to be added onto your stats over time once you level up. And if you level up during this time, depending on how many battles you've done, your stats could go up by like 10, 15, 20. Usually, as a rule of thumb, the better the Morty, the higher the Morty stats you're training, the more easier it is to get those effort value points. So keep that in mind. If you have a weak Morty with really low base stats, it's gonna take a lot more battles to get the base stats and the effort values on top of those base stats to get it to where you want it to be or get it to its maximum. So keep that in mind. So you don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time training weaker Mortys. Again, I'm gonna put a link in the description to the website, and you can see the Morty's base stats, their move pools, so you can then perhaps decide the Mortys you want, then come up with a strategy, and then get those Mortys in the wild. It's gonna take some patience. If you really, really want to be hellbent and getting like a specific team based off of the Mortys that you're seeing and the stats that they have, but once you do, it'll be well worth it. It's gonna take time and it's gonna take a lot of effort, because you're gonna have to go back to the healing center, and then you're gonna have to go back and start doing more battles, but it's gonna pay off in the end, and that's gonna give you the biggest boost, the most advantage. If you go up against someone who hasn't done much special training, they've just been trying to level up, and you've spent all this time special training, you've got 30, 40, 50 points on your stats, you're gonna have the upper hand, and they're gonna be wondering why. And usually you can kind of tell if someone's been doing special training. If you have a Morty, they have a Morty, they're around the same level, give or take, but your HP stat is 150 and theirs is 100. They haven't been doing much, because all the stats go up. Of course, once the base stat is higher, it'll go up faster, but usually the HP is definitely a good sign to tell if they have or haven't been doing special training. So keep that in mind, definitely very important, and it's gonna give you upper hand. So the bottom line, do a lot of training, make sure you have a good team, a diverse team that can effectively handle pretty much any type that's thrown at you. Make sure you keep your Mortys as high or as close to that level cap that your Rick is as possible. So remember, it's twice the level plus 2. Keep it as close to that as possible. Do a lot of special training. Now after a while, the Mortys, the EVs are gonna hit their peak, and then there's gonna be no more boosts that you can get. As of right now, the only way to test this is to use a stone, or a seed I should say, to be able to test it. So if you were supposed to say give your Morty an attack seed or an attack mega seed, it's gonna take it, but then it may tell you had no use, it doesn't have any effect. That means your attack stat is now at its highest. You can do the same for the defense, you could do the same for the speed. It's the only way you can test it. Otherwise, a shortcut would be to just give Morty's seeds, but ultimately you're gonna have to put a lot of work in to find those seeds, and be completing daily challenges and that kind of thing to get those seeds. So the training is gonna be more worth it, and it's gonna be consistent, because you can always find wild Mortys, which means you can always battle and you can always gain those EVs. Do all of that and you have a recipe for a good team, a balanced team, a team that has really good stats, that can defend itself. And in a lot of cases, you will end up finding where you're defeating Mortys that are even higher level than you are, 3, 4, 5, 6 levels higher than you are, and you're still winning. Mortys that have the upper hand, the type advantage over you, and you're still winning. So keep it in mind, try it out, and I'm sure you get better at the game. I'm thinking of doing some competitive battles, so maybe a road to level 35, then level 40, level 50, that kind of thing, and post those videos as we go through and level up. Let me guys know what you think. Definitely want to start getting things a little bit more competitive as well, and feel free to hit me up in the game. Maybe you have a Morty that you'd like to have. If I do have an extra, I'd be more than happy to help you out. Again, it's a community and we want to try to help each other as best as we can and grow together, learn together in the game. So remember to check out the website. If you're not already, do subscribe. I have more content coming along, and hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Do take care, and I will see you in the next one.